As a public company, how do you manage your time on public company chores versus on the actual product and service?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say I spend almost all my time on product, marketing, and hiring, those three things. And product and marketing, I also combine like a lot of companies, they think of marketing as like advertising and product as product development. We actually have a function, we took it from Apple, product marketing, where we basically try to make sure product and marketing are joined at the hip. Think of product as the chefs, marketers, the waiters. And in a lot of companies, like the waiters can't go in the kitchen, they get yelled at. So we really try to make them integrated. So here's how we run the company. The entire company is a functional organization. So we have an engineering group, a product marketing group, a design group, like ops, legal, HR. So most every other company is divisional or subdivisional. The entire company is on one single roadmap. So, I mean, again, yeah, there's accounting systems that maybe aren't, but basically anything you ever see is on one roadmap. Most companies have separate roadmaps. And then we do these release cycles. And we basically do a giant release in May and a giant release in November. So basically the idea is that we try to basically take the best of software development and the best in hardware development and put it onto one practice. And the reason why is I found that the way people develop software, which is great for 10 people, where you basically democratize data, you decentralize and anyone can ship anything and it feels very empowering and it feels it can go really fast. That's great until you're like thousands of people. And then everyone is basically a free-for-all. They're all hitting the payments platform. There's no cohesive roadmap. As you subdivide the company, ideas get smaller. You don't even know what to market. And then you can't keep track of everything. Then there's like no accountability. And then the lack of accountability becomes politics and bureaucracy and all this weird stuff. So when the pandemic occurred, out of basically Jason's survival, we lost 80% of our business in 8 weeks. And Joe and I and Nate, we were like, what the hell do we do? And we were like staring into the abyss. I mean, you might remember people were making predictions like, is this the end of Airbnb? And one of the people I was talking to a lot back then was Johnny Ive. He now works with me. But he told me the stories of Steve Jobs going back to Apple. And when Steve Jobs went back to Apple, they were like 90 days from bankruptcy. And I'm like, well, that seems kind of like, Airbnb's in a very precarious situation. And Johnny Ive said, you can cut, but you can't cut your way to the growth. Steve, you have to build product. You need to stay in the product. And I hired a guy named Hiroki Asai from Apple. He was also instrumental. And so I totally changed how I ran the company. So what I used to do is I was very hands-off. I democratized data. I was very much reactive. I thought my job was like strategy and capital allocation. And here's the weird thing. The less hands-on I was, the more I got sucked into problems. And by the time I got sucked into a problem, it was like 10 times as much work. So then I decided I'm going to do something different. We're going to be totally integrated, one roadmap. I'm going to do very few things, and I'm going to be involved in every single detail. And Airbnb is not going to do anything more than I can personally focus on. What became the governor, and this is what Steve did at Apple. He said, well, we want to do more things than I can focus on. Now, this sounds like it would slow us down. And initially, it did slow us down because I would review everything. So I had these things called CEO reviews. And every single project in the company, I had a program management function. And I would review everything either every week, every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks, or every quarter. And then we track the progress. And then, then everything would ship on a single deadline. Initially, people hated this. No one wanted to collaborate. People didn't want to have imposed deadlines on them. They were wondering, why are you meddling? Like, why are you reviewing all the work? But eventually, it created a culture. And I was trying to teach a sense of quality. I was trying to be like the editor or the orchestra conductor. And eventually, what ended up happening was we were able to start shipping faster. And in the last 3 years, we've shipped 340 upgrades and innovations. And we obsess. I mean, a lot of companies, they're just trying to grow and they look at their dashboard. They have these sub teams looking at growth. They're doing A/B tests. And I don't like that process, the process of just chasing growth. Because first of all, you're not really solving customer problems. And if you're over reliant on A/B testing and you choose B, do you know why B worked? Because if you don't know why B worked, you're stuck with B and you can never redesign B because you don't even know why B was better than A. And so we decided if you're going to do ERF experimentation, you better know why B worked better than A. We're going to be qualitative and quantitatively driven. And so what I do is I spend most of my time just reviewing work and hiring people. So I review all these different things and I don't really spend a lot of time on corporate matters anymore. It's because once we designed the company, it became very efficient. We also don't have a lot of employees. We have 5,300 employees. And we did $3.5 billion in free cash flow last year, 2 cents in free cash flow, which I believe is higher than Google or Apple. Now, obviously, we're not nearly as profitable absolute dollars, but it's very efficient. So we try to be like the Navy SEALs around the Navy. It's a small, lean, elite group. It's super intense. It's kind of day and night, to be honest, but I'm honest about it. And when people come to join, I probably try to talk people out of joining more, talking them in. I'm kind of like, are you crazy? Like, why do you want to put up with all this?
Brian Chesky prioritizes product marketing and hiring and combines them into a single function. He thinks of marketing as product development and aims to ensure product and marketing are integrated. Unlike most companies that are divisional or subdivisional, Airbnb is a functional organization with one roadmap. The company has an engineering group, a product marketing group, a design group, and other groups that operate on a single roadmap. They follow a release cycle that involves doing a giant release in May and another one in November. The company aims to combine the best practices of software development and hardware development in one practice. After losing 80% of the business in 8 weeks due to COVID, the CEO changed how he runs the company, becoming more hands-on, involved in every detail of the company, and did very few things, instituting a single roadmap and reviewing everything, which created a culture of quality. He even hired a guy from Apple and changed his approach to focus on building products, where he advised him to focus on building products, not cutting costs, and to stay in the product.